Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope, Ahbab, you're all enjoying your holidays. Today, we are going to discuss our first chapter, which is in our textbook, which is on equality. It is a very important concept to be understood, especially in a country which is diverse. Due to various reasons, we know that individuals and groups, they treat others unequally. They don't give them equal rights. Now, before trying to understand about what are the problems due to which this idea of equality was introduced, or we can say it came in the societies. First, we have to understand what equality means. It's derived from a Latin word. Most of the words that we discuss, they are either derived from Latin or Greek. This word is also derived from a Latin word, and the word is equalus. So, as I said before, it is derived from a Latin word. Okay, I am using the razor right now. Let me change it. So, it is derived from a Latin word, which is equalus. Equalus means uniform. Identical. We can also say fair, etc. So there are many meanings of equalus in English. Okay. So later on, this word was used in English language, and I think the date was from 1600s. Okay, during the time of Renaissance, which is rebirth in Europe. We will discuss it in further classes. But here we have to understand this term equalus, which is the spelling can vary from we can say dictionary to dictionary, because when we translate, when we use a word which is not English, so the alphabets which are used in it, the spelling, it varies, because actually it's not an English word, it's a Latin word. So this word equalus, it means uniform, identical, or fair. Now this is its literal meaning. This is its linguistic meaning. Its literal meaning, if we try to understand that, it is it can be defined as a way of treating everyone same. Everyone same. We can say treating everyone fairly. Treating everyone equally. Now, this is its technical meaning, that we have to treat everyone in the same way. Okay? As we treat ourselves, we have to treat others in the same way. Now, let's go with the overview of the chapter. So, we'll discuss the definition of equality, which we have already discussed. We discussed both definitions, literal and technical. In literal, we came to know that it's derived from a Latin word equalus, and it means uniform, identical, similar, okay, fair. Then the technical meaning is that we treating everyone in the same way, treating everyone equally, treating everyone fairly. Okay, there should be no discrimination, there should be no unequal treatment with each other. That is what equality refers to. Why equality is important in a democracy? This is very important. Okay, as I mentioned, this idea came and we can say it was introduced during 1600s, and this time in future classes when we discuss, it was a time when Europeans, they were now, when European philosophers, European theorists, they were understanding what problems do we have in the government that is ruling, and what flaws does that government have, and what are we suffering from? How can we just deal with these things? So this idea of equality, when democracy was introduced, which was introduced a long way before, because it is the Greek idea, but still there was inequality. Okay, even though democracy was there, but now here we have to understand why equality is important in democracy. Because if equality is not in democracy, then we can't say that country, that state is a proper democratic state. Okay, every day inequality is faced by people. This is another idea, another concept that we all will try to understand. Every one of us at some stage or at some phase in some phase of our lives, we have to face inequality from others. We do face inequality from others, and it depends on what we face these inequalities on. It can be on physical strength, it can be on status, it can be on religion, it can be on ideas, ideologies, language, culture, festivals. It can be on anything. Okay, so whenever we face discrimination, we face unequal treatment from others on any basis, it is inequality. Now, let's continue. Now, the first thing that we have to understand is equal right to vote. As we have understood the idea of equality, so now we know that everyone, equality simply, technically, when we define it, it means treating everyone in the same way, treating everyone fairly, treating everyone equally. Okay, so there should be no unfair treatment. Treatment should exist. So this is what equality keeps us. Now, when equality was introduced, when this idea of right to equality was introduced, you will see, when you will check the Constitution of India, you will come to realize that there is this right to equality, and it is one of the fundamental rights in Indian Constitution, which is provided to Indian citizens, that we all have right to equality. Now, here we have a story of Kanta. If you can see the image here, okay, it says equal rights. You will say there are different people. Someone is old, someone is young, some are girls, some are boys, some are physically disabled, some are physically fit. Okay, some may have different clothes, they are from different classes, different castes, but everyone among them is equal. Same. There is no higher or lower order when it comes to rights. Now, Kanta standing in line to vote. There is a story in your book about Kantabai. Okay, she is a maid. Kantabai is a maid. Okay, her story is when she went to vote. Okay, when she went to elect elect any candidate, or those candidates who wanted to be elected as MLAs, ministers. So she went to the poll booth and gave her vote. when she gave her vote, she saw that in that line there were rich people, there were poor people, there were politicians, there were educated people, there were uneducated people, etc. There were people from different ideologies. And everyone among them is standing in the same line. No one is saying that this rich person should get, he should be in front, or he should be just given a special right to just vote quickly and then leave. No. So everyone is just waiting for their turn to come so that they can vote for their candidate. Okay, so this is the story. We will discuss it further in the chapter when you will inshallah read it. But here we have to understand that Kanta, when she sees this, she realizes that we have equal rights, because this is right to vote, and everyone has right to vote who is 18 and above, which we'll discuss inshallah after this. Universal adult franchise. Okay, so she realized that here there is no superior or inferior. Everyone is equal. Everyone can vote for their candidates. Okay, for their preferable candidates. Okay, now voting as a symbol of equality. This voting, it signifies that everyone is equal, because you can vote anyone. You are not forced to vote any specific candidate, any specific politician. But it's up to you. Who do you think can help you in developing, can help the state in developing and becoming a good and great country? So this is Kanta's one side of the story. Okay, that she went to vote, and there she saw that everyone is equal. Now, universal adult franchise. Before going to universal adult franchise, there is another part of Kantabai's story, that she is working. As I said, Kantabai is a maid, so she is working at some house. Okay, so those people, they are rich people. Okay, and she is working in their house, and then when her daughter, she gets sick. Okay, so then she has to go to hospital, and she sees that there are different hospitals. There is government hospital, then there is private hospital. Okay, and she sees the difference, that rich people, they have more influence in the hospitals. They can get the best technologies for their patients, and poor people, they cannot. So she realized that in that way there is still inequality. Even though everyone among them, no matter rich, poor, powerful, weak, has right to vote, and there they do not have any discrimination. But here, when it comes to practicality, when someone gets sick, when they have to get education, when they have to put forth their demands, we see that they are treated unequally. There is inequality which still exists on the basis of caste, color, and status. Now, as I mentioned, this concept, universal adult franchise, it's a very important concept. This idea, simply if we define it, it means everyone has right to vote. Everyone has right to vote who is 18 and above. This is the rule in India. That means in India, if an individual is 18 and above, he has right to vote to select his own government. This age group varies from country to country. Okay, in some countries it may be 20, in some it may be 21, in some it may be 16. Okay, but I think the 18 is the major age group. Okay, in most of the countries. Now, so we understood what universal adult franchise means. It simply means that everyone has a right to vote. They should be 18 and above. That means 18 plus. Now, every adult citizen has right to vote. Okay, as we mentioned. And the age group is 18 and 18 plus. That means 18, 19, 20, 21. Below 18, you're not allowed to vote. Second thing, not based on wealth, caste, religion, education. We understood it from Kantabai's story that when you have to vote, you don't need any status, you don't need any education, you don't need any power. You just need to be 18 and above and a citizen of India, and you can cast your vote. Then, fundamental democratic principle, voting. That means electing government is a fundamental democratic principle. Okay, this is the base of democratic state, that people, they should elect their own government. Now, Kanta's story, inequality in daily life. As I mentioned, she is working as a maid in a very rich house. Okay, in a very rich household. So now we'll try to understand that idea. Okay, she herself, she lives in a slum, poor condition. That means she is a poor woman. Okay, she is not rich. Then cannot take leave to take her daughter to doctor. She has to get the permission from her mistress to take her daughter to doctor. Okay, long queues in government hospitals. She then sees that in government hospitals, the poor people, they are in abundance, because we know that nowadays we see people, they are not physically, mentally fit. Okay, so there are some problems in each and every household. So then she sees that these government hospitals, they are filled with patients. Okay, and most of them are poor. Okay, this makes her question real equality, because when she went to voting, there she observed equality. But when she observed it on practical grounds, she realized that there is no equality. Because then there should be same hospitals for rich and poor. But that was not found by Kantabai. When she went to the hospitals, and she saw that hospitals are filled with poor people, and rich people, they get special hospitals, they have private hospitals, they have money, they can do whatever they like. And in government hospitals, the technology is not so much developed. And even though if they are in government hospitals, rich people, if they go to government hospitals, they are respected, they are honored, and their patients are looked after first. So this made her question about equality, that even though they live in a country where constitution states that everyone has right to equality, is her country actually practicing this idea of equality or not? Now, this was one concept of inequality which happened with Kantabai, isn't it? She understood it through two incidents. One was her voting, another was her daughter getting sick. So through that she questioned about her equality, equal rights. Now, other kinds of equality. If we see in this chapter, we'll discuss inequalities based on caste, religion, economic background. Economic background, Kamtabai. As I said, she is from a poor family. She is in slums. Okay, she does not have. She does not live in a locality which is in which rich people live. So she suffers the inequality. She suffers inequality on the basis of economic background. Now here we have other examples on the basis of caste and religion. On the basis of caste, in your book, there is the story of Om Prakash Valmiki. Okay, he has mentioned about his life as a student in a school and how his teachers, his principal used to treat him. They used to use him as a cleaner of the school, and he was not allowed to sit in the class with other students. So this made him think, what is wrong with me? Am I not as same as those students who are inside the class? Because this used to happen to him because he belonged to the caste, untouchables. So this was the reason he was treated unequally. He was not given equal rights. Then we have Ansaris. When you will study the chapter, when you read the chapter, you will realize that their story is they wanted to buy a house, but it was very difficult for them because no Hindu societies were giving them any house. That means they could not live in a society in which there were Hindus. Why? Because they were Muslims. So this makes us think about inequality. That in our society, in our country, which has fought for equality, it still practically lacks the idea of equality. So here we see discrimination in school. It happened to Om Prakash Valmiki, and housing, it was suffered. This problem was suffered by Ansaris on the basis of their religion. Okay, Om Prakash Valmiki, he suffered on the basis of his caste. So all these stories, they tell us that our society is not actually, or we can say practically, following the idea of equality. Now, recognizing dignity. Let's first try to understand what dignity means. It's a very important concept to be understood. Now, if we try to define dignity, we will first try to define it in in literal meaning. What does it mean literally? What is its linguistic meaning? It's again derived from a Latin word like equality, which is dignitas. Dignitas means honor, respect. So this is its linguistic meaning. It's derived from a Latin word which means dignitas, that means honor or respect. And technically, we can define dignity as self-respect, respect, comma, honor of an individual and others which they get from their birth. Their birth as human. So, technically, dignity means self-respect. It means honor of who? Who does this honor and self-respect belong to? It belongs to an individual. That means anyone. It can belong to me. It can belong to you. It can belong to any. So, technically, when we define dignity as self-respect, honor of an individual and others which they get from their birth as human. That means if we are human, we have dignity, we have honor, we have respect. But that does not mean only I as a human have dignity, I as a human should be honored, should be respected. But what does it mean? That everyone who is born as human should be respected, should be honored as I do, or as I honor myself, as I respect myself. So this is what dignity means. And dignity, if we say how it is affected or how it is harmed, we can say it's harmed through unequal treatment. When we treat others unequally, when we don't give them those rights which they have as a human, which they get from their birth. As we have the example of Om Prakash Valmiki, who was ordered to sweep the school. Why? Because he belonged to a Dalit caste. This caste, in Hinduism, they are not respected as the other castes in their hierarchy. As we have Brahmins, we have Kshatriyas and others. Due to this reason, Om Prakash was the only student in the school who was ordered and forced to clean the school. He was not allowed to sit in the class with other students. And the only reason was because he was from other caste. Even though he was human, just like the other students, just like the teacher, but his dignity was hurt. The reason was the way he was treated by the teachers and other students in the school. Now, Ansarins. They were denied house due to their name. Why due to their name? Because they were Muslims. They had Muslim names. They belonged to the religion which was not accepted by the people who followed other religions. For example, Hinduism. Those people did not want to live with them. Why? Because they eat meat. They eat fish. And other religions, they do not eat it. But that does not mean we should hurt the respect and honor of people who belong to other religions. Now, everyone deserves respect, no matter from which religion, from which caste, from which status, from which culture, from which region they are. They all should be respected and honored equally. This is the concept of equality. That we should honor, respect, and treat everyone equally without any biased ideas, without doing any discrimination due to what we think about others, not having any factual information about them. Now, equality in Indian democracy. As we already have studied in the last class, when we discussed about diversity and discrimination, we tried to understand that India in the beginning was, even though a diverse country, but there was discrimination. And then when India was freedom from Britishers, they got free from colonization. Their new state, which was said to be Democratic Republic of India, in which we have the chairman of Constitution Assembly, who drafted the Constitution, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He fought for this equality because he himself suffered it as being a part of Dalit caste. So we see in the Constitution, it recognizes equality of all citizens. That means no matter what your background is, you, I, everyone will be treated equally. This is what Constitution of India tells us today. Equality before law. That means everyone before the law is equal. So if a rich person, he does something wrong, and a poor person did the same thing, both will be treated equally. If the poor person will be punished, the rich person will also be punished. That's what it means, equality before law. No discrimination on the basis of caste, religion, gender, etc. That means no matter who you are, you won't be treated unequally. You will be treated as everyone will be treated in the society. This is what Constitution of India gives us. These rights are given to us by Constitution of India today. Now, issues of equality in other democracies. India is not the only democratic country in the world, and we know that. There are some democratic countries who are very powerful, who are very popular in the world, and they have their dominance in the world politics. Here, we will discuss about a country which is well known in the whole world, and you all know its name. It's United States of America. Inequality exists in many democracies. We discussed in India, but here we are going to discuss about United States of America. African Americans faced racial discrimination. That means due to their color. Color. Now, what does it mean? In America, long time ago, when America was a colony of Britishers, they had African countries also their colonies. So during that time, we see Britishers, they migrated some Africans to America for labor. Okay. Now, when they did that, these Africans, they could not go back home, even though America was freedom from Britishers. So they settled there. But after settling, they did not get equal rights as the Americans who were native to America. Okay? This led to racial discrimination on the basis of color. Now, struggles for equal rights worldwide. This struggle for equality is not only faced by India or United States of America, but it's faced worldwide. That means wherever there is diversity, there can be inequality. And the constitution of each country, each state, which were drafted by the politicians or we can say by the philosophers, by the Pharisees of that time. They wanted everyone to understand the dignity, to understand the responsibilities of each other, so that everyone in every place, at every place, will be treated in a fair way, and no one will be having any special rights or any special status in a democratic country. In America, when we talk about United States of America, we have a story of Rosa Parks. If you can see the picture here, this is Rosa Parks. She is an Afro-American, and she was traveling in a bus, and there was a rule during that time. We are talking about 1950s. There was a rule during that time that if an Afro-American is sitting on a seat and a Native American or we can say white American used to come in that particular bus and there was no seat available, so this Afro-American has to give his or her seat to that white American. That was the rule. Okay, but this woman here, which you can see, who is wearing glasses, looking outside the window, enjoying the view, she did not accept it. And she refused to give up her seat in 1955. This triggered civil rights movement in USA. And this resulted in Civil Rights Act in 1964, which ended racial discrimination by law. What does that mean? It means now the Constitution of America, the law of America, is considering that both white and the black are equal, and they have equal right to sit as who has come first. So if the Afro-American has taken the seat first, so he will sit or she will sit as far as she will reach her stop. And same goes for white Americans. So this was done to eliminate racial discrimination. In USA. And this Civil Rights Act 1964 is the proof of it, that in America, black and white people should be treated equal. Now, we will conclude this chapter. Even though nowadays when we discuss equality and we see that governments, they are taking initiatives, or we see constitutions, they are giving rights to everyone. But as we saw in the case of Kantabai, there is no such thing when it comes to practicality. Still you will see that in America, recently, I think just few years ago, a black person was shot dead by a white policeman. And when, I think as for my information, when the case went on, it was, the study was done, it was researched, there was no wrong deed or wrong action done by the black man. He was just shot, and no such, we can say, action was taken by the government to prevent it or to stop it. So still we see inequality still exists. So now, conclusion, equality as continuous struggle. As I said, still equality on the practical level, we can't see it as much as it is being propagated or promoted by the governments and the constitution. Legal equality doesn't end discrimination. That means even though the government is taking the steps, the constitution has taken the step, we have the rights, the law is talking about equality, but it can't be given in practical grounds. That means not everyone will accept equality. And we see it in various places. We can see it if a maid is working in a household, she won't be treated equally in the household where she is working. So this still is a problem and a struggle in which we as unitedly have to fight for this idea. Now, attitudes change slowly. It takes time. Sometimes it can take hundreds of years. Sometimes it can take just few days or few years to understand that we all have dignity and we should ensure its safety together. And the last thing, equality requires continuous effort. That means even though we have a law, even though constitution talks about equality, even though government is having policies and schemes about equality, but as citizens, we have to promote it. On different levels. Then we can say that a country can become and teach and promote equality in a proper way. Thank you.